right, another very busy week in the news, and that, of course, means we have so much to take up with our Powerhouse Roundtable.
And a great lineup for you today. Introductions first. Justin Safey is publisher of the Safey Review, a daily roundup of political news and opinion from around the state. He is also an attorney in Miami. Veteran journalist Rosemary O'Hara, editor of the editorial page editor at the Sun-Sentinel. That's the right title. And we welcome to the roundtable Eric Knowles, president and CEO of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. Welcome. So glad you can join us this morning.
Glad to be here.
We're glad you're all here. All right, so Justin, you are a veteran of Tallahassee. You served Governor Jeb Bush, communications director, still spent time there. How did the lawmakers do? Did they finally come up with workable, reasonable solutions?
Well, as the earlier segment showed, there was a lot of horse trading going on. This was very unusual. I think in the last 15 years, I can't remember them coming back a month later to do a special session where there was this much horse trading between the governor, the speaker, and each one of them, as was referenced earlier by Senator Farmer, each of the legislative leaders and the governor had something that they wanted.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they resulted in a deal that many people would be happy, but I think that still the issue that a lot of people have a problem with, especially the school boards and the superintendents, is this issue of this the bill you mentioned,
$140 million for charter schools.
Correct.
Yeah, and Rosemary, you're shaking your head.
Well, you know, how did they do? They started the year saying that how they worked was going to be the most transparent in history, how they ended up getting this done. I mean, in the end, House Speaker Richard Corcoran really was the force in the room, and the Florida Senate did not have the impact that it should have. It's frustrating to me. In the end, we're doing better by giving more money to public schools, but in that House Bill 7069, they will take money away from public schools in order to give it to for-profit charter schools for construction.
Right.
I love being devil's advocate on that. What's wrong with that? I mean, is there a chance that this charter school experiment will be good for education?
Well, let us hope. But why, if charter schools are offer innovative, why do we have to pay them even more money to go into poor neighborhoods? It's because right now they don't go into these zip codes that are where these troubled schools are. They're cherry picking the best students at other and so what's wrong is that the public is paying public money for land and buildings that we won't own.
Right.
Eric Knowles, I know you're being so polite. You're a first-timer on the roundtable. Jump right in.
Well, you know, we talk about charter schools and we talk about whether they're nonprofit or they're for-profit. The reality, at the end of the day, they go into this business to make money.
Right.
And we don't do a great job.
Even the nonprofits?
Even the nonprofits. I mean, someone is making money.
Salaries, and most of them are for-profit.
Exactly. Yeah. Salaries, the principal is being paid, the director is being paid, people are being paid. So there is a profit being made.
The argument, of course, that I hear some very, I think, respected African-American leaders make is we want the same choice for our children that upper middle class, white parents have, and if we want to send them to a better school, we want to do so.
Absolutely. I think anyone should have that right to be able to send their kids to whatever school they want to. But when it comes to public schools, everybody can't do that.
Right.
So we have to make sure that public schools have the same availability of learning and opportunities for the children that are going to public schools.
You know, as a business person, you run the chamber.
Correct.
As a business person, we talked a lot about this this growth fund, economic growth fund, that was kind of horse traded for the demise of Enterprise Florida. Yeah.
When listening today and you talk about the $85 million and the fact that the governor now has, I guess, a slush fund that he can use when he wants to use it.
That's what the Democrats call it.
That's what they call it.
That's not what Justin's going to call it.
I might. Give me a chance.
So you're talking about jobs, you're talking about creating, whether they're building bridges, et cetera. Florida, we talk about Enterprise Florida, we talk about Visit Florida. We know we are a tourism-based community throughout the state. And I want to give kudos to my good friend Bill Talbert and Gene Prescott for what they did in their leadership and making sure that they brought the money back for tourism.
An avid watcher of This Week in South Florida.
Absolutely. But when it comes to business, our Beacon Council here in South Florida, in Miami, how we fight to make sure that we bring business here, how do we keep the businesses here, it's very important.
Yeah, but Rosemary, I really think the sticking point, Justin, jump in a minute too, the sticking point is that there seems to be little oversight for how the governor disposes of $85 million for infrastructure projects. I mean, who is he answerable to?
The answer that the legislators gave us was that he's answerable to the voters, and if he misspends the pot of money, you know, of course he's term limited. Yeah. The issue is if
I'm sorry, I don't want to imply for a second that he would misspend it, but he is going to run for the U.S. Senate next year, and he's going to spend a lot of that money in places that will redound in his favor as a candidate.
And how it's been described that this money will be spent is for roads and mostly roads and, you know, bridges kind of stuff, and then workforce training. Right now, Florida invests in roads and bridges through our Florida Department of Transportation. Right. They have a very disciplined 5-year plan that every city and county is trying to get into the plan. Now, and there's a process. Now suddenly, how is he going to give this away? And on the workforce training, the other dedicated part of this money, our state colleges provide workforce training, especially to targeted industries, and yet this legislature cut our state colleges by $30 million. You know, it's...
Although the Senate tried to override that veto.
So Justin,
well, the university.
Jump in, weigh in
sure.
here.
So, you know, look, this is a debate that's going on since I worked for Governor Bush, 15 years ago. This whole issue of do you have to provide incentives to companies to stay here and to come here? My view is, in the state of Florida, we are so attractive as a state. We have a great climate. We have a great tax environment. Exactly. That businesses, we should be able to compete just on the base of our work environment and our climate and our business environment that we have. But look, there's always going to be the argument, and especially if you go to the panhandle of the state, they're competing against Mississippi, they're competing against Georgia, they're competing against Alabama, and in that part of the state, if there are no economic incentives, those states are giving, South Carolina, they're giving economic incentives to these companies. So there's a balance that needs to be reached. The most important thing is accountability. There needs to be accountability. And because this issue is so high profile, I don't think that any member of the press, I don't think the members of the public, we're going to be watching what the governor does with that $85 million. And if he spends it on a company that takes the money and runs and doesn't produce the jobs, he's going to be held accountable to that if he decides he wants to run for the U.S. Senate. So we have to hold him accountable.
Enterprise Florida money, was that spent appropriately to you?
To me, there were a number of instances where the Visit Florida money, and it was well reported, there was spending on an Emerald Lagasse cooking show, millions of dollars for that, millions of dollars for a fishing TV show. That was Visit Florida. I question those. On Enterprise Florida, as was referenced earlier, there have been instances, Michael references, where funds have gone to companies that were required to create a certain number of jobs. They did not create those jobs, so it has not always worked, but it does work sometimes.
Quick break.
I would say
quick break. We got to take a commercial break. You get first word when we come back. All right, stay with me.
Welcome back on the Sunday Morning Live in our studio, a powerhouse roundtable. And Eric Knowles, you were about ready to make a comment.
What I wanted to say to Justin is how quickly we forget. You're saying that the governor will be running for senator, but we forget. By that time, he would have spent the $85 million, and we are screwed as a community.
Unless he spends it well.
Unless he spends it well, and that's what we hope he does.
We will be watching carefully. All right, let's move on, if we can, to the topic of medical marijuana, which it appeared they might not take up at all, and the State Department of Health may have been writing the regulations. Thankfully, they did not. And Rosemary, your page had, I thought, an excellent editorial and recommendations. Among them, let's have 25 dispensaries per licensed grower. Guess what?
Right.
They said 25. Good going.
Well done.
Thank you. You know, in the end, they weren't that far apart during the regular session. But there's all this talk about a free market, you know, and in the end, it's not a free market. When you're talking about a drug like marijuana, which has the same effect as alcohol or cigarettes, you got to have some regulation of it. Really the fight is about money, as it always is, and how many storefronts, dispensaries, could each licensee open. So it was really about the business behind it in the end, rather than about the patients. And so we are about to see a needless lawsuit brought by on the issue of smoking, when it's clear that smoking is referenced in the amendment. So why?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is going to be a big new industry in the state of Florida. We have 7 licenses already as a result of a law that passed a couple years ago. And, you know, these licenses are basically licensed to print money for whoever gets them. And the legislature is the one that determines how these licenses are going to be granted. So anytime there's that much money at stake, you're going to see this kind of restrictions on the marketplace.
Well, one thing that what was said earlier, you had Representative Trujillo on, and, you know, it really hits me in a way when he responded and said, and we have to add a black farmer.
Yeah.
We have to add, and that's very, to me, a derogatory statement. And we talked about how do we get to these conversations, but it's when something is put in those contexts, and it may be out of context, but that's the way it's, to me, that it's taken, that, okay, well, you know, we're going to give a black farmer an opportunity.
And one of the things he didn't say, and to the point of whether this is a free market, is that 2 of those licenses are going to go to people who had citrus packing companies. Now, is that picking winners and losers?
That was added at the very last moment before the bill passed.
You know, I have to say, one of my favorite little, it's not that important, is that the law apparently says municipalities may outlaw a dispensary within their limits. On the other hand, they can't stop deliveries. So I guess UPS and FedEx, United States Parcel Service, are going to be sending, you know, the connection for people who have a prescription.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
You know, before we let time get away, I thought our NAACP discussion with Mr. Roberts here was, I thought, a start of a very important conversation that our community rarely goes public with. Well, and I know you were very involved in that
It's
topic.
an important conversation. I mean, what Mayor Levine has said.
Just to frame the perception for anyone who might not have been watching, the perception of race in law enforcement, the perception of leadership dictating rules that some people perceive as discrimination.
Right. Again, what Commissioner Greco, who is a friend, I consider him a friend, he made a comment probably out of haste that he shouldn't have made, saying that Urban Beach Weekend will no longer happen. And the other commissioner that made the comments about cameras and bullets, obviously that was not a statement, and I understand she apologized. I do say that Commissioner Greco probably needs to apologize if he hasn't. But also, as Ruben said, you know, there's a history behind Miami Beach when there were signs that said, no blacks, no dogs. And so we are very, as a community, we're very sensitive to these issues. And so, as the mayor said, you know, it's all of throughout the year that we're concerned about making sure that the beach is safe for everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, last week we spoke about the context of spring break in Fort Lauderdale, you know, your territory.
Right.
And there was a concerted effort to change spring break's atmosphere.
Yes.
That worked.
It did, although we had a good number of young people back this year. To me, the part of the question is, should bars stop serving alcohol at 2 o'clock? And in my personal opinion, I think nothing good happens after 2 o'clock, you know? But that's my personal opinion, you know? In
So
Miami,
you're not a partier all night.
I was gonna say, let's go down there at 3 a.m. We'll check it out.
But that's only on Ocean Drive.
Yeah, and it's only outside on Ocean Drive. They can, you know, people can go inside from the sidewalk, from the tables, go into the bar and still have a drink until 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's true, and I've traveled around the country, and it's pretty remarkable. In cities like Los Angeles, other cities like New York, liquor sales stop, period, at 2 a.m. So, you know, Miami Beach, we're a little bit unique, I think, that we allow liquor sales till 5, period.
So does Fort Lauderdale and Boca. So this 2 o'clock issue is one that's worth having. But should, you know,
Well, they're putting it before the voters.
All right, we are out of time. That's going to be the final word. Eric, thank you for coming. We'll have
Thanks
you
so
back
much,
soon.
everybody.
Rosemary, Justin, great.
Good to be here.